Welcome back to Hoops HD, everybody. It is Wednesday,
Woohoo!
January 28th. Well, how about this? It's our last podcast of January. We're about to
My
get into
God.
the stretch run of the season here, about to be February by our next show. Uh,
Yeah.
but this is our Under the
And
Radar show. I'm Chad Sherwood. That's David Griggs. That's John Sleeka. You had a comment,
okay.
Griggs?
Oh
That's
no, I
it?
was just
Okay,
saying
show over.
yeah, the season is flying by. I still keep thinking it's early in the season, and it's not. It's almost the end of the season.
We're getting there. We just got the month of February ahead here, but this is our Under the Radar show, and by under the radar we mean generally, what we mean is the 22, what we consider single bid conferences, although they can technically, as we point out every week, get more than one bid. We're not going to be covering here is the Power Four conferences, the ACC, the SEC, the Big 12, the Big 10. We don't cover the Big East. We also don't cover the A10, the Mountain West, or the West Coast Conference. And in past years, we didn't cover the American here. Uh, but now we do.
Yeah, the American
Because
has earned their spot on this show this year.
It's been pretty weak American, and so they got relegated down here. We do have one special rule here as well, though. If you're in the top 25, not at the major polls, that one team is not on this show. So,
Yeah.
congrats again to Miami, Ohio. Moved into the top 25 in both polls. Had a thrilling win last night. We can talk about UMass, but we can't talk about Miami, right?
Yeah, lots of teams have come close. I mean, the MAC having a very frustrating year. I don't remember the last time so many teams in the MAC came so close to getting a win over a ranked team and coming up just short.
Likewise,
Uh,
we can't talk about Miami's biggest crowd in 30 years until Monday.
Yeah.
we could
There,
talk about UMass having to face that crowd. No, okay, we're getting
Or we
yeah.
can also talk about Angry Frank being the first Final Four coach to head to a MAC school, probably since Bob Knight visited Miami in, I think it was a 1988-89 season.
now. We like to do these conferences in alphabetical order, other than a feature conference that I pick very shortly before the show, and I generally don't tell these guys what it's going to be. I took a look at the standings, and I thought that this one was pretty interesting looking. So, how about it making this the A Sun week, uh,
Wow.
where we've got what is now actually a four-team battle for first place, following tonight's huge Central Arkansas win at Queens. And Griggs, about an hour ago or so, I think you texted me saying, I'm talking about Central Arkansas basketball seriously for the first time in forever. And I think you're right to be doing so.
Ever. And what a story. And this was a team, I think Rocco talked them up a little bit. So I don't want to say none of us were looking at them before the start of the season, but other than him, and he's such a freak, I don't even know if that counts. None of us were really looking at this team, and none of us had ever thought that this team could be good. I mean, they're just perennially awful. And for them to kind of they weren't really they never really got my attention, I got to admit, until tonight. But they went on the road and beat Queens, and they've beaten some of the better teams in the league already. Now, you look at their upcoming schedule there. Their next few games are winnable. Eastern Kentucky, North Alabama at home. They do go to Lipscomb. That one's going to be really big. But it seems like with the exception of the game at Lipscomb and the game at Austin P, that much of this schedule is managed considering how well they've been playing. And keep in mind, they just went to Queens and won.
And they earlier this week they also picked up their only two road wins of the season. The other one they picked up was right before this was at West Georgia. And West Georgia, yes, a transitional team, but they've been very competitive so
Yeah.
far in their first season. Uh, Salika, the other win tonight. Austin P wins a road game at Eastern Kentucky. They'd been Florida Gulf Coast earlier in the week. Technically half a game up in first place in the conference.
Thanks to teams like Central Arkansas now making a surge, there's a clear chasm between the top four and the other teams in the A Sun. And as you noted, Austin P getting two wins against the muck of the conference, and Central Arkansas with the win against Queens. That's going to keep them in contention, especially with Lipscomb and Austin P looming later on in the year.
Yeah, Lipscomb just cruising along there as well. It's 7-1, and this conference tournament moving off of campus sites now. The entire
Yeah.
tournament being played in Jacksonville. All 12 teams invited also, which is new. They'd previously only let the top 10 in. So I think it's going to be a wide open field here because, especially with the two quote unquote host schools in Jacksonville and North Florida really not being competitive this year.
Are they
Uh,
playing this at the Coliseum or are they playing this at Jacksonville's on-campus arena?
I believe at the Coliseum.
okay. I just want to point out like what the ASUN lost since we're talking about this league. And when they did it at campus sites, imagine the storylines of this race for first place in Central Arkansas being in it and Queens being in it as a transitional team. Playing for home court advantage in the right to host conference tournament games. I mean, they just sort of torpedoed what had always been a fun league that always concluded with a really fun tournament. For under the radar conferences, Chad, I'm just not a fan of predetermined sites or standard brackets without ladders, and they've gone to both.
Yeah, and there's no this conference used to reseed as well. The reseeding is gone. Um, it's
And why would you do that? Like, why would you take away like those great regular season storylines and then those great tournament atmospheres?
just a quick clarification, again back to Stalika's initial point. The four first round games, kind of that the top four seeds
Opening
will
round.
bypass opening round, they'll be played at UNF's home arena at North Florida. The remaining tournament will be played at the Veterans Memorial Arena, the bigger arena in the city there. So
The one that has occasionally hosted NCAA tournament games.
yes.
Hmm.
So that's the answer to Salika's question on the host site there. So North Florida probably will get a home game even if they're a 9, 10, 11, or 12 seed in this conference tournament.
Yeah.
But I just think we're in store for a great rest of the season here, and even some great games coming up. Beginning with Lipscomb has a road test tomorrow night at Jacksonville. Then we throw in
Yeah.
Austin P at that Livewire West Georgia team on Saturday. That's a big one, I think.
It really is. Austin P having a really good year. I was Lipscomb is still the team I like the most, but I'm starting to like Austin P just as much. And
I,
they play each other a week from the night.
a week
So
from tonight, circle this game. This is the game of the week in the next 7 days here,
yeah.
at least in the conference. Lipscomb at Austin P.
Yeah, and this is a huge pivotal game to determine who will get to wear white all the way through the tournament. Last year it would have determined who actually got to play at home.
Yeah, well, anyhow, that's our feature conference. Salika, let's jump back into the rest of the leagues here, beginning with the America East, where this was our feature conference last week, and now we've got Vermont and UMBC still in that tie for first place here. Vermont did have a 2-0 week with a pair of road wins, though.
Yeah, NJIT already had their moment in the sun and quickly disappeared because of UMBC, who also got a pair of wins. Now, with Vermont getting a pair of road wins, they're also tied for first with the Retrievers here. And not as much drama here for Vermont as they've had at home with some of the teams near the bottom of the league.
Yeah.
It's what we do every year. I should say we just kind of wait for Vermont to turn it on. We were starting to think they almost wouldn't this year. I think they are right now, Griggs.
Yeah, and a really nice win at UMass Lowell to put some distance between them and a Lowell team that seemed to be in the race. But another story here, Chad, if you look at UMBC, and at 5-1, and they've lifted some heavy weight to get to that 5-1. They haven't just been picking the low-hanging fruit. Can they keep pace with Vermont?
Let's take a look at the upcoming schedule here for UMBC because they got the big game coming up at Vermont. They haven't
Yeah.
played them yet, and they got them twice still, but their big game coming up this week is the game at Vermont.
Yeah, and
So
they're entering a stretch where four of the next five are on the road, and that's tough. But when you look at how bad Maine and some of those teams are that they're going on the road to play, those are winnable games.
mhm, absolutely. But it's actually a really big home week for Vermont. They're playing the first, the top two teams other than themselves in the conference, hosting
Yeah,
UMBC, then hosting NJIT. A 2-0 week this week for Vermont. This conference might be over at that point.
and it might be, and it could just be like the manifest destiny that this is the week Vermont like put some distance between them and everybody else.
Especially if UMBC has a possible hangover at Albany, which is certainly possible.
Yeah,
Yeah. Uh,
I've been hungover in Albany. It's very possible. I can attend.
uh, How about our newest conference in the Under the Radar show, Griggs? The American Athletic, oh, no longer the American Athletic, it's just the American. Uh, we've got a bunch of games going on as we record this, in fact, but you know, we kind of kept them in the main show because Tulsa was having a real good season. Tulsa started to fall apart a bit. Tulsa's starting to bounce back now, although they're in a
Yeah,
tough battle as we record this with North Texas with only a few minutes left to go.
right. So Tulsa has won four in a row after dropping two straight. And the thing is, they just don't have the margin for error. Perhaps if Tulsa runs the table and wins out between now and the end of the season, and I mean wins every game, they'll probably be on the bubble and they'll probably get selected. But right now, I'm beginning to wonder if they'll do that, if they'll win tonight, much less win all of the rest of their games. And to give you an idea of the standard that we hold these teams to on our bracket shows, this would be their fourth loss essentially against the team that's nowhere near the field, and that's just too many.
Yeah, and this will be their second of those at home, and they still have
Yeah,
to go to Florida Atlantic. They still have to go to South Florida. They still have to go
yeah.
to Wichita. I don't see this. I don't think they have any shot in hell in winning out. In all honesty,
I don't either. And if we go back to the standings, I do think Tulsa is the best overall team, but Florida Atlantic seems to play above their heads. At least they have it since conference play started. You've got
although they,
I
they did lose this weekend to at South Florida though.
Yeah, but South Florida, an incredibly talented team. Tulsa talented. Memphis talented, but grossly underachieving. But what I don't see this conference getting inside the bubble, but I see this, whoever, if it's among those five teams that gets the auto bid, and chances are it's going to be one of those five, that is a tough out in the round of 64. That is a tough team to see on the 12 or 13 line.
So
Now,
it's
if
one of
you want to
those.
talk about classic teams like Conference USA and Memphis and Charlotte, who would have ever figured that Charlotte would be a game and a half ahead of the Tigers, yet have considerably worse power ratings
Yeah,
than a team like Memphis?
Yeah, Charlotte had a fun little overtime win nice road win at Temple, who's also up there. Wichita also up there in the standings.
yeah.
This is
It-
really going to be a big race, and this conference has changed the tournament format. They are doing a ladder now,
yeah.
so top two seeds very important in this conference tournament.
It is, and there's good teams in this like South Florida. While they don't always, I think that this conference is full of good teams that have too many letdowns, just collectively.
Yeah, and I think we're probably looking at a fairly solid 12 line, assuming one of
Yeah,
the favorites wins the conference tournament. I mean, if Tulane comes out of nowhere, wins the conference tournament, it's a different story. But
right.
we're looking at whatever five seed draws the American team. Like you said, Griggs better be really ready for this
Yeah,
conference tournament
because
for the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, South Florida, Tulsa, FAU to a point. These are teams that are North Texas, even though they're down in eighth place. These are teams that they don't always do it, but they can play at a high level.
A lot of big games coming up this week. Beginning tomorrow night, Florida Atlantic at Memphis, South Florida at Temple on Saturday, Wichita State at Tulsa. The next Wednesday, Tulsa at Florida Atlantic. Um,
Yeah.
Charlotte at Wichita State also next week. So by the end of the when it was a Hoops HD report conference, it was kind of like you didn't even want to watch these games. As an under the radar conference, I'm actually starting to get into this conference a
Yeah.
little bit more. I kind of
Yeah.
like it down here.
Yeah.
Uh,
I mean,
I've
it suits them.
I've got to think Memphis is going to at least appreciate some home cooking after getting drilled on the road against Tulsa and Wichita State, which has knocked them from the top of the perch. Now at least they have a chance to get back in the race with the aforementioned home games against FAU and Tulane on Sunday.
Yeah.
yeah, and before the end of the show, we'll get a final on that North Texas Tulsa game that's going on right now. There's about 4 minutes left in it, so we should be finishing
Yeah.
up here in a little bit. Slika, let's jump back over to the classic under the radar conferences. And the Big Sky with how about this Portland State team just keeps winning a pair of solid road wins, I thought, this week.
Yeah, doing it against a pair of teams I think are only about 8 or 9 miles apart in eastern Washington and Idaho.
And never mind the
Or
NCAA
Mike,
tournament.
Yeah.
nope. But I think it's also important because Montana State continues to apply the pressure with a pair of wins against Idaho State and Weber State at home.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, at this point in time, Griggs, it's almost funny just a few weeks ago, Northern Colorado, about a
Yeah.
month ago, it was in our under the radar top 10. We were talking them up. They are probably going to be playing in the opening round, like 8-9 game in the Big Sky Conference tournament, which is unbelievable.
It is. It is one of the more surprising collapses. There's teams like Eastern Kentucky, to a point, another team like Sacred Heart that we had high expectations for, but just never played up to them. Northern Colorado did play up to them. They played up to them huge, and then to go from looking so good. And who did anybody have in this league look more impressive than Northern Colorado out of conference? I don't think so, and I don't think it was even close. What the hell happened to Northern Colorado?
Yeah, but the season has unfortunately collapsed on them. But we've got a couple interesting games coming up here. It's actually Portland State has three home games coming up here soon, but all three of them, well, maybe not the Monday game against Idaho State, but these next two, Montana, and then the huge one Saturday hosting Montana State. Huge
Yeah,
first place battle there.
yeah, in Portland State, they have been impressive. You just looked at their profile, and this is a week to where either Montana State can catch them or where Portland State could really put distance between them. And I mean have a two-game lead with the tiebreaker type of distance and just be and from that point on, Portland State's running downhill and it's theirs to win if they can sweep this week.
Yeah,
Northern
obviously,
Colorado may have collapsed, but don't forget on Saturday we still
there it
have the
is.
Nokoiwu Cup.
Yeah.
I was about to go to you for it, Stalico, one of the great rivalries out there, the No
Yeah.
Koiwu Cup Saturday. Let me Griggs, over in the Big South Conference, uh, where Winthrop had a 2-0 week with the win over Radford and the win at Presbyterian. High Point
Yeah.
did get a win at Radford as well. Uh, close battle here at this point. I will throw this out there though for the High Point Panthers. Their top player, uh, Cameron Cameron Fletcher,
Cameron Fletcher.
Cameron
has been
Fletcher.
out
Yeah.
since all of January. He's back on Thursday, their next game. Uh,
And they could certainly use him. I mean, they were
and,
doing pretty good
but they
without him,
only lost one
but
game
like,
without him, so the
yeah,
tip rate are good. And now
yeah,
he's coming back for the Presby game coming up here this week.
yeah. So, I mean, is this what puts High Point over the top? I mean, we thought it would be High Point sprinting away from everybody else with maybe Winthrop keeping pace because they were so much better than everybody else. I think Winthrop has equaled and perhaps even outperformed High Point to this point. Now, two, with Webster coming back. That is not
Fletcher.
to be, or Fletcher coming back. I've got the TV on. Sorry.
Oh, you're watching old episodes
I
of Webster. How's Emmanuel Lewis doing?
Yeah.
I think he's watching Valpo's swim team against Belmont.
Yeah. Yeah. Fletcher. Sorry. Um, like, with him coming back, that might give them a little extra oomph from Winthrop. But I mean, if you put them side by side, it's hard to not be really impressed with what Winthrop's done, and maybe even more so in terms of profile. That's
Let me pull them up here. It'll
Yeah,
take a
that was
second to
Lipscomb.
load.
Yeah.
There it is.
Okay.
High Point.
So, they of course they have the win against High Point. They had the battles against, they battled against Nebraska. They battled at Arkansas. They do have three really bad losses, particularly that one at Longwood. They really should have won that. Whereas High Point, their losses don't anchor them down. But Winthrop's kept pace, and Winthrop beat them in their only regular season matchup so far.
Without Fletcher.
Without Fletcher, yeah.
Yeah, but in
And
this case, the wins look very similar, but it's pretty obvious to tell which of the strength of schedules is the worst in D1 and which one
Yeah.
is a little more respectable.
yeah, High Point the best races, but then you look at the predictive metrics. They're supposed to show how good a team really is, and it's all High Point in those numbers.
Yeah.
So
Well, High Point is really good. I mean, talent wise, they're one of those under the radar programs that I think is going to consistently be in the top 50 of the nation. And if anything, their 18-4 record, while good, they've underperformed. And I don't mean that as a backhanded compliment. I mean, as good as they've been, they really could have been better. Their loss at UAB was disappointing. I think they're better than UAB. I think they're better than a couple of the teams that they lost to.
They do have, after this Presby game this week, they have a game at Longwood. Longwood has shown some life in this conference, so that could be a one worth circling here.
Yeah.
Winthrop has their game at Radford coming up on Wednesday also next week, so
And that
circle
is
that
a
one there.
hard place to go and win. So,
Salika, out in the Big West Conference, where we've got, well, it's Hawaii and Irvine so far, and both teams did what they need to do this week, 2-0 weeks, for both of them.
Well, Hawaii had no choice but to win both of those games given that they were at home, but UC Irvine getting a pretty pivotal win at UC San Diego, while UC San Diego has been kind of up and down. That's still a difficult game to win in conference play, and at least they're still going to be tied at the moment with UC Santa Barbara lurking only a game back.
Yeah, UCSD spent the first month or so of the season as our number one team in our under the radar top 10.
yeah.
I'll tell you right now, they did not get a single vote for this week's poll when we get to it at the end of the show, and
Yeah.
deservedly so.
And yeah, deservedly so.
Uh, but upcoming this week, we've got a huge, huge game coming up tomorrow night. Hawaii at Irvine. Uh,
Yeah. And Hawaii, a good team, they struggle on the road, understandably so. Like, there's long bus trips and then there's long flights over the ocean. And I think that if Hawaii gets that one, then that is a statement that, like, on equal terms, they can beat anybody in the league, not anybody in the nation.
This is the chance for Hawaii to prove, and they got to go to Long Beach also on Saturday. It could be a trap game afterwards.
Yeah.
So, but this is
Yeah,
their
hopefully
chance
they
to
don't
prove
get
it.
hopefully they don't get trapped on the 405 between Irvine and Long Beach.
Yeah, it might take them longer to get from the airport to Irvine than it does to get from Hawaii to the airport.
Salika, over the CAA, UNC Wilmington suffered about a week ago here, their first conference loss this season, losing the game at Bill and Mary. Bill and Mary, a team that had we were starting to almost forget about, and now they're suddenly right back in the race here.
Not terribly surprising when you see where Bill and Mary are in the conference standings, and we also talked about College of Charleston having a stumble last week, but the Cougars at least managed to hold serve with a pair of wins against Campbell and Elon, and you also look at a team like Hofstra, they've suddenly melted with road
Oh
wins
my
against
God.
North
Yeah.
Carolina, A&T, and Bill and Mary.
We that is stunning.
Disastrous week for Hofstra. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was one of the stories in this conference, and it's not a good one, was how good Hofstra was playing all the way up until I mean, it's just like I don't know, like food poisoning, witchcraft, too much to drink. I don't know, but God, the bottom fell out from under them.
Four,
It's the
four,
Long Island
four
iced
straight.
teas.
Yeah,
Four straight losses. Stony Brook,
four straight
Elon, North
losses.
Carolina A&T being three of them. This is a team that won at Syracuse and won at Pitt this year.
And was rolling. One at Towson, which isn't easy to do. I mean, they were rolling.
But Wilmington is a team that's rolling. They did get the bounce back win over Hampton. Like I said, Bill and Mary hot. College of Charleston's been playing a lot better since we got to conference play. So I don't know. This could be a very interesting conference tournament when we get there.
Yeah,
We're
and
still
you want to talk about
ways
a
to go.
log jam? Look at that.
Wilmington at Towson this week. Charleston is going to be at Hofstra. Bill and Mary at Elon. So there are some big games. Actually, those three games tomorrow night are all worth circling, I think.
Yeah, Elon, they're hot and cold, but when they're hot, they are hot. I mean, they can play. They can also not play, depending on the night. Like I said, they're hot and cold.
Where are we up to? Griggs, are you up next here with CUSA?
I think so. Liberty is the story in the league. Very impressive. We've elaborated, and Rocco's always quick to point this out. He's not here tonight. He's supposed to be at Murray, but he's at Valpo instead. Long story. He just while the plane was in the air, he decided he changed his mind and wanted to go to a different game. So I told the pilot to change the flight plan. That's what I'm hearing. I can't wait for him to hear this. But Liberty, this is a tough league to win on the road, and Liberty's gone and done it every single time, and they are looking very impressive. One of their three, I mean, I think that of their three losses, if you pull them up here, a couple of them you're really scratching your head. I mean the Towson loss was particularly surprising, a really bad weekend over Thanksgiving, but other than that, you know they've looked really, really good. Went to Dayton and won, went to Sam Houston and won. Western Kentucky, a really talented team and not easy to win there. They went there and won. Uh, this is a very good, very dangerous 12-13-ish team that can win a game in the round of 64.
The win at Sam Houston was impressive. They've got the
Yeah,
game coming up at Middle Tennessee is their next game. That's tomorrow night. That's another
yeah,
huge one here. This Middle team has had some life all season. Uh, Jack State's starting to move up in the standings as well.
yeah,
They
they
picked up a
are.
nice road win tonight at FIU
Hmm.
and beat Middle and destroyed Middle last week. So
Yeah.
that might be another team worth keeping an eye on here.
Hmm.
And even
Uh,
Missouri State hanging around near the top with a pair of wins along I-10 against UTEP and New Mexico State.
Hmm.
Liberty at Middle on Thursday is one game worth watching. 100 Miles of Hate here coming up on Saturday, Griggs. And nice, one of our
Yeah.
best rivalries of this conference here.
Yeah. There's a few good rivalries in this conference. That
Well, it's
that
100
being
miles
one of
of
them.
icy hate right now.
Yeah. It's 100 miles of.
Salika over in the Horizon League, uh, where we still have Wright State in first place here, and Oakland, who's been trying to stay place, keeps, honestly, last Wednesday they lose to IU Indy. Tonight
That was.
they almost lost this game at Fort Wayne tonight. They needed a huge comeback to take a nice run late to take it. So
Well, we already covered their miseries against the Jaguars on last week's Under the Radar podcast, but to get a pair of road wins, at least get them within percentage points of Wright State, that was pivotal. And then Wright State, after they had their game moved up because of Winter Storm Rocco, they were able to beat
Yeah.
their arch rival NKU on Saturday to hold on to first place for the time being.
Yeah.
yeah, so that's the story here. Really is this Wright State team for now. Um,
Yeah, I think
I
so.
still like Oakland's roster better, but Wright State swept them. I mean, what? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, Wright State
Uh,
did sweep them. It- it's a big week for Green Bay. Two game like they can get a game closer to Wright State if they can get the win against them at home. Um, I don't know, and this is a team that while they're not perfect and they certainly have their warts, they seem to be improving as the season goes along. Uh, do they still are they still within arm's reach of the title? I don't think they will be if they don't get the Wright State win at home. They need that one to get within a game. Uh, but here they are with a chance to get within a game.
the way this conference tournament works, really, what your goal here is
It,
get
it doesn't work.
one of those top three seeds. With one of the
Yeah.
top three seeds, you'll have a first round game or
Yeah,
quintuple header
pull the
round.
bracket up. Pull
Uh,
this up. This is just a disaster.
I
Like
know
of
it's up there on the screen here. I don't know if I can get it up quickly or not, but
Okay. Well, what it is, whether it's quickly or whether it takes a few seconds, it is just what happens when people take acid in a boardroom and then try to build a good conference tournament format. You'll see it here in a second. We have what can basically be described as not a quarterfinal, but a nickel final. What would we call this round? The quintuple final?
the quintuple
Look at
finals,
this.
what we call it.
Yeah.
There's five games in that game on Wednesday. There's that opening 10-11 game Monday. Everybody that plays Wednesday, and then they reseed whatever's left. But if you are one of the top three teams at the end of the regular season, you will get to skip that Sunday game guaranteed. Now, if there's an upset, the fourth or the fifth seed might be able to skip Sunday as well. But assuming there's no upsets in the quintuple round, top three seeds is where you want to be to skip that Sunday game.
It's
Did I
just
get that right?
amazing. Yeah, it's just amazing that first of all, someone was mentally disturbed enough to come up with this format, and then decided to present it to the ADs and the commission, and then they all said, "Yeah, yeah, that looks good. That's a very sensible, normal conference tournament format."
And if anyone knows about acid, it's the puppet. Don't for,
Yes,
I mean reference Griggs University from this weekend.
yes, yeah.
Let's see if I can get the other screen back up here. Um, there we go. It's coming back up right now. Quick side note here. Tulsa did get that win over North Texas. They actually blew them
They
out
actually
last
pulled
few minutes. So,
away. Yeah.
yeah. Uh,
So
but let's move right along here, Griggs, over to the Ivy League, where only a handful of games this week, but Yale did what they need to do. They got the win at
yep.
Penn, and they're sitting here, uh, you know, only a game up in the standings, but I think they're the best team by far in this conference.
I think they are the best team by far. Some of their losses have not just out of conference play, but during the year. They only have three, but a couple of them were real head scratchers. Their conference loss to, was it Cornell that beat them? I watched the game and I can't remember who beat them, but I know
Yale's
like
loss was Yale's loss was to Princeton.
or to Princeton. Okay, they're a lot better than Princeton, and they're a lot better than Rhode Island. I don't think they're as good as Alabama, but like two of their three losses should have been wins. They're really good. I think the question of this league, Chad, is when you start to look at what the race is going to be to get into the top four, because basically 2 through 7 is separated by one game right now, and we are nearly halfway through conference play.
I agree with you. I think it will be. I think it will be. But there's still a lot of games left. We're actually with only 5 games down. We're not.
Yeah.
We've got one more week. After this week's games, we will be
Yeah,
halfway there. Yale,
and
pair of home games. But
should get them both.
we got some interesting ones though here with what do we got? We got Princeton. They're going to be going to Columbia, uh, and to Cornell. But
Yeah,
there are
and
some
then
good games
Harvard
here.
and Yale on Saturday. Harvard's not a bad little team. I don't think they're as good as Yale, but I mean that one's going to be interesting.
Well, that's just the undercard for the Brownmouth Cup, which is also on Saturday.
Yeah.
Stalika, over in the Metro Atlantic, it's become the Merrimack St. Peter's battle so far. Although Merrimack stumbled with the loss to Iona, but bounces back with the win over St. Peter's to take first place for now.
Which is important because it will at least give them a half a game lead. But you also look at a team like Siena, who only had one game last week, but an important one where they beat Marist, and now they're only a game back of St. Peter's and 1.5 games back of Merrimack, as it turns out.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Quinnipiac falters again. They lose the game
God,
to Marist. Uh, we were on that Quinnipiac
we
bandwagon,
were
Griggs, but
again.
I think we got to jump over to that Merrimack bandwagon at this point.
Yeah, Quinnipiac's one of those bandwagons I'm always on, and it always crashes. Very much like Dayton on the Over the Radar show.
Um, Upcoming this week, we've got, let's see here, Merrimack. They will be hosting Sacred Heart. St. Peter's will be hosting Mount St. Mary's and at Ryder. Uh, these games that these teams should win,
Yeah, they
especially the
should
game
win
at
them.
Ryder. Ryder
Yeah,
is not very
Ryder is
good.
atrocious. Yeah,
And I would like to think Siena should sweep the Niagara Canisius trip in Buffalo.
They should do that. Let's take a quick look. Quinnipiac hosting Sacred Heart at Fairfield. So I don't really know if there's a game to circle this week, honestly.
yeah. I mean, it's just sort of like the top is not playing each other; they're playing the bottom. So
Yeah, so it's kind of a week off here in the Metro Atlantic.
yeah.
You can spend your time watching other conferences, uh, like Sleeka, like the MAC.
Well,
We're
look
not
at this
we're,
one.
we're
Love
not
this
talking
league.
Miami, Ohio, but how about Akron?
You look at a team like Akron, they made one major statement on Friday where they get a win against Ohio by 21 points and winning at the Convo Center. That's usually not one of the easier places to play in the MAC. And you also look at Kent State, who's going to be coming up. That's going to be the first leg of the wagon wheel. An actual rivalry, not one of the Hoops HD rivalries that we like
Right.
to cover.
Yeah, we're going to talk about games to watch this week. That probably is the game to watch.
Yeah, it
in the
always
MAC
is
is the
the
Kent
game
State
to watch.
Akron Wagon Wheel. It's a battle for second place. Obviously, you can keep a little eye on what Northern Illinois and what Buffalo are going to be doing. They've got some top 25 rated team this
Yeah,
week. Big one though Tuesday night. That game at Buffalo is one to circle, I think.
it is Buffalo in a tailspin. What is it? Three or four losses now, or four out of the
Did they
last
just
five or
bounce? Didn't they
something.
just get one? They just won their last time out. They
They
did
did?
at
Okay.
Bowling Green.
Yeah, and that is a good win. So,
That was
okay,
just last
maybe,
night.
yeah, maybe they're coming out of the tailspin. Okay,
Yeah,
that
because I
was
know
just last.
Rocco has mentioned one of the players was coming out of a concussion protocol in a game against a team we're not allowed to mention.
Yeah, I yeah, I don't believe in concussion protocol. They 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 say it could end up killing me, but nobody seems concerned.
I ju- um Griggs Miak.
Yeah,
They didn't play this week, so Eastern Shore is still in sole possession of first place. I think they had one of those many cancellations that we saw.
yeah,
Their game at NC Central was postponed.
yeah. So a lot of games postponed this week, and again, there were a lot of games postponed, but a lot of them got through or rescheduled. So fortunately, I was actually worried about this one. All kidding aside, there were no incidents that I knew of as far as accidents with teams, referees, or anything like that. So a
Yeah,
good week, but Eastern Shore still the story in the conference.
yeah. Almost every single game that was postponed does have a new date now. There's two or three games we're waiting for, but we're not going to lose any games. I believe we're
Right.
going to get every
Yeah.
game in. Yeah. But speaking of Eastern Shore, though, Stalika, they are at Delaware State and at South Carolina State this week. Can they get two road wins and stay up there?
Well, they could probably sleep through their alarm at Delaware State, but South Carolina State, that's a game you cannot overlook because Eric Martin's team usually very defensive oriented and probably going to be a possible stumbling block for Eastern Shore. I'm going to be honest with you. I think that is going to be their first conference loss.
And
Yeah.
really, probably the best game of the week,
Well,
though, is
yeah.
actually the Norfolk State Howard game because these are two teams that we still think are the best teams in the conference.
Yeah, Howard just a very head scratching 2-3 in conference play. I mean, I really thought that they were going to run away from this. I still think that they have one of the higher ceilings, as you mentioned. I don't know what's happened to either one of them. Not to take away from Eastern Shore and NC Central at the top of the standings, but holy crap, like they've just fallen apart.
I wouldn't be shocked if, like, 3 weeks from now, we're talking about those two teams as being on the top of the standings. But
Yeah, we very
we could
easily could.
dream the Eastern Shore dream for another week, is all I can say.
Yes. Yeah, they're in our weekly brackets as the projected champion. It's just been great.
Uh, Over in the Missouri Valley Conference, Belmont just finished off a tough road win at Valpo by 1 point. And as we
Yeah.
record this, Murray State is actually down a couple points in the second half here against Illinois State. I'll see if I get a little more recent update there on the score. Murray State also had come off Griggs off the loss to Northern Iowa over the weekend, so
And
they both have
Drake.
two and Drake. So Murray State had been on a two-game losing streak heading into this, and well, if they can't
Yeah.
find a way, the game is now tied with 13 minutes left. They can't find a way to win it. Who
Yeah,
knows?
and this was a Murray State team that seemed to really be, cruising prior to prior to that tailspin that they went into. And Illinois State, a really talented team, in a dogfight with Murray State. This is not an easy league to win in, but for a while it was looking like Murray might be good enough to make a run at the bubble. I don't think they can do that now. And maybe they
Ken
were never,
Belmont.
yeah.
Ken Belmont, though, that's the bigger question.
And well, I mean, a big one. Murray State at home. I mean, this is I'm having flashbacks to when that was a signature game in the OVC, because they were when they would both make runs at the bubble back then. Murray State, Drake. You look and think if they can get by Murray State, uh, they're with the exception of having to go to Murray State and Bradley, they're good enough to do it. I think they are. And now
Yeah,
I don't know that they will. It's hard to win on the road. It's hard to win at Valpo. Valpo's battled some teams at home this year. So while Belmont escaped with a 1 point win, that was one that I thought was a trap game for them. That was actually a good win for them.
Well, this is what you got to remember. Top 75 road win is a tier one and quad one win.
Yeah.
At Murray is 76 right now. At Illinois State 77 right now. Both those teams just have to move up just a couple points. And Belmont
Uh-huh.
wins at those schools. There could be a pair of tier one wins at this on this profile at the end of the day, and it
Yeah.
could become interesting with a literal win out the rest of the way.
Yeah. And you look at their losses, that Richmond game was close all throughout. They did kind of blow it at home. At the time, I just thought it meant Richmond was better than what we thought they were. But they sort of blew it at Southern Illinois, losing by a point. They really blew it at Indiana State. Had that game won or should have won it and lost in overtime. Um, but I mean, look at the margins. I mean, they're basically two missed shots away. Well, one made shot and one missed shot, depending on which game you're talking about, from having just one loss and probably being as big of a story as Miami, Ohio. Like this is
Also
a
keep
good
an
Belmont team.
also keep an eye on teams like UIC and Bradley. These are teams that are also creeping up toward possible tier two wins for Belmont. I think the cutoff is 135, but they're just below that at this point. And I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
Rocco had also
Oh,
touched on the UIC Flames last
seven
week, and
seven in a row with their win tonight.
Yeah.
Red hot
So
Flames.
Rod Eashan, the coach, they're doing a really good job. And that was a program that was a mess coming into this season.
yeah, the former UAB guy.
Yeah, he was at UAB. I forget where else he's been.
We'll see if we can get a final score in that Murray State game before the show ends. Also, they just, as we record this, I just watched Illinois State go on a 5-0 run, so they're now down five. But
Yeah.
uh, big one Saturday. We already mentioned that Murray State at Belmont. That's
Yeah,
really the game to circle.
UIC should be able to keep. I mean, it's not easy to go to Southern Illinois, but they should be able to keep that winning streak going.
But then
Um,
they're
Well, if
then
they
they're in
win at
Murray.
Murray State, that would be even more significant for the Flames.
yeah,
Let's jump over Stalika to the NEC, uh, where Central Connecticut is now suddenly in a
oh my
tailspin,
God. Yeah.
Yeah, I
and
think it's now CCSUCKS, but I think now the story has to shift to Long Island and Lemoyne, who only in their, I think it's their second year in, or no, third year in D1, I think.
yeah, this
So
is their
still
final transitional year. Yep.
one more transitional year, but they still get a pair of wins against Wagner and FDU on the road. So at least they're a half a game back of the Sharks at this point.
Yeah, and I'll throw this out here. New Haven is not eligible for the NEC tournament. Lemoyne and Mercyhurst can both play in it. If these standings hold, actually, this wouldn't be the good. Well, they do some reseeding, but
Yeah.
if some way Lemoyne and Mercyhurst could end up playing each other in the NEC title game, the two semifinal losers will also play each other in the AQ in the automatic qualifier game because both those teams are ineligible. We need that. We need that.
We
It
need
is the
that.
NEC bonus game.
Yeah.
This is going to be one of our last chances to ever have it. We need it this year.
Yeah. We used to get a bonus game in the MEAC. It was incredible.
25 years ago, but yes.
Yeah.
And if you look at the bracket right now, that could potentially be Long Island and STFU in the NEC bonus game. That
Yeah.
would also be the Red Flashes potentially last game in Division One.
And what do we can't get too hung up on this, but what would you think if they went to the MEAC bonus format to let that, like you don't want the championship game to not be for the automatic bid, in my opinion. It's just it kind of ruins your showcase event for the
And
for the season.
it's happened here a
And
couple times in the NEC.
yeah,
Yeah.
and it's happened a couple times in the NEC. So why not do a showcase format where you invite those teams, have them play a game? It's a double header. They get to experience the conference tournament in that way, and but at the same time, it doesn't torpedo your showcase event.
I I like the MEAC bonus game. So
Yeah,
hey,
I liked it too. Yeah,
uh, quick note here. We thought that the game we were going to be circling this weekend was Long Island and Central Connecticut. Well, we are circling the Long Island game, but it's actually tomorrow night's game. Lemoyne at Long
yeah,
Island, first place battle. NEC front row. Watch this game tomorrow night.
yeah. Free download. Be sure you watch it.
Yeah, just
It
ignore
should.
your browser if it says not secure connection.
It,
Okay,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
never had that
ignore it.
problem,
Yeah,
but
I've not had that issue.
Well,
anyhow,
nothing is ever secure on your computer, Puppet.
Salika,
Yeah.
OVC time. UT Martin still hanging in there in first place. Actually, with I think because of a cancellation, they did not get a game in this week, though.
Yeah, and you look at a team like Tennessee State, who's also been hanging around. They had a setback on the road against SIU Edwardsville, but did get to rebound with a win at Lindenwood, which would have been, I guess, their travel partner out in the St. Louis area.
Yeah, they're up there. You got Moorhead up there. Moorhead beat up at home. Got two close home wins over the probably two of the worst teams in the conference, but
Yeah.
they are up there. Little Rock still up there as well, but they had the loss to SEMO last week.
Yeah, I think we're
Yeah.
now going to call that East-West Illinois.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Probably so. One of the things about this conference to point out is I mean, it's pretty logjam. You look at second place and seventh place being separated just by a game, but only 8 teams make the conference tournament, and I think we already know which 3 will not.
It's pretty bad right now. I guess Eastern Illinois could still fall apart and let maybe Tennessee Tech sneak back in there, but I
Yeah.
don't think so.
Yeah.
Uh, Upcoming this week, UT Martin, they're going to be at Eastern Illinois, at Western Illinois, or as Slika says, at East West University. But then
Yeah.
the big one Tuesday night. Circle this
That's
one:
a
Little
big
Rock at
one.
UT
Yeah.
Martin.
That is a real big one. Little Rock playing a lot better. They've been plagued with injuries. And then UT Martin, it just feels weird whenever they lose. It seems like they should be better than everybody else, but they're not.
Well,
Also, circle to
I did say East-West Illinois, not the fabled
Yeah.
East-West University Phantoms of Chicago. There is a
Yeah.
difference.
also
I
tomorrow
didn't
night.
even know their name. They're the Phantoms. Oh, that's good
Yep.
information.
Tomorrow night, Little Rock at Tennessee State. Circle that one as well. Uh, Griggs, over in the Patriot League, uh, it's the Navy versus Colgate show so far, and they
Yep.
both found a way to get ways to get wins tonight. They were both winning close games tonight, but a pair of wins for these two teams.
Yeah, the Navy game was a little bit more surprising. I know it was on the road, but I still thought that Navy was finally starting to play like the alpha team in the conference. They are in first place, but they haven't been dominating in their wins like you thought they would be. And Colgate is keeping pace, and American is battling. So
Yeah, American got that win over Colgate a week ago, but they did. American slipped up tonight with the game at Loyola. That
yeah,
kind
and
of
that
knocked them a
is
bit off the pace
yeah,
here.
Well,
yeah,
knocked them into the bronze medal podium
yeah,
here.
This conference does play its tournament on campus site, so very important to get that top seed.
yeah.
Uh,
Still a fun league.
Navy could be hosting Loyola and at Lafayette this week, while Colgate has a road trip to Lehigh and hosting Army. So I don't know that there's really a game to circle here. Uh, Maybe Lehigh at Loyola next week because you got that battle for the 4 seed starting
Hmm.
to shape up a bit. Salika, over in the SoCon, uh, I think for the first time all season, we had the team that we really liked last week actually put together a 2-0 week.
Yeah, if you're talking about East Tennessee State winning at Chattanooga, not an easy proposition, but they managed to survive against the Monks and no letdown against the Citadel. You look at a team like Wofford, who now has to be the team to put on the pressure. They get a couple decent wins at home against Samford and Mercer.
How is Wofford having this kind of year? I mean, you want to talk about a tumultuous offseason. For them to kind of, I mean, I can't believe they're
Well,
12 and 7 and overall, and I can't believe they're a game out of first.
Maybe
Griggs,
that's a problem for teams like Furman and Mercer. Maybe they need to be a little more tumultuous behind the scenes.
Yeah,
Griggs, tell everyone what happened with the Wofford offseason because we haven't featured this conference. I don't know if we're going to get a chance before we end up with
yeah.
the season ends.
I'm going to get some of the facts wrong, but there was some sort of dispute over a living situation, a residence like, and I don't want to start pointing fingers, but players were led to believe that they could live off campus, and when they did, for some reason, the money they were given to live off campus was deemed an NCAA violation. If I'm missing anything, speak up. So they had to move and they had to pay the money back, or there was some kind of dispute, and the players sort of revolted and threatened to leave school or quit or not play or not
They
move
they
back
al-
or
they
something.
almost did not field a team this season. That's
Right.
what they were talking about. There was, I mean, and they were going to be threatened to be suspended for as little as receiving like $84 with
Yeah.
benefits.
It didn't even seem to me like it should have resulted in any sort of NCAA eligibility issues. It didn't cross the line of being an extra benefit that could get you suspended, which was now it's coming back to me. I apologize for not getting the facts right. I don't really remember, but what they were told seemed wrong. Uh,
And proved that it was wrong.
yeah,
So that's how the whole situation got resolved. But it was a
yeah,
mess there for a while.
yeah.
Uh, Coming up this week, East Tennessee State at Wofford on Saturday after they host Western Carolina tomorrow. So circle that one on Saturday. Huge game in the conference.
Yeah,
Uh,
that is a big one.
Sleeka over in the Southland Conference. McNeese doing what they need to do, picking up win over New Orleans and a win at Southeast Louisiana, but they are not the first place team.
That's still the Jacks, who also managed to hold up their end of the bargain with the road win at Lamar and also beat Northwestern State at home. So it's coming down to either Lake Charles or Piney Woods as being the axis of power in this league.
These two teams looking like they're on pace to be in that conference championship game. They'll be biased to the semifinals for the first top two seeds, and there is a ocean between McNeese and Corpus Christi at the moment.
Yeah, there is,
And
and
Nichols for that matter.
yeah.
Yeah. Uh,
Um,
but this week, SFA is going to be hosting Southeastern Louisiana. McNeese is going to be at Lamar, and then Monday night,
that is
circle it.
oh man, I'm already excited for that one. I've already started pre-gaming.
And you know what you get if Stephen F. Austin can dethrone McNeese and win this conference regular season title. You know what they get to do for the conference tournament, Griggs?
They get to go wear white
To
at
they get to go
McNeese.
to they get to go to McNeese.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I
conference
also
tournament
want
at
to pass a
McNeese.
note on to Rocco Miller. I believe he does have is going to be at this game. Make sure your connections actually go through properly for this flight.
uh, Griggs,
Rocco doesn't need a flight itinerary. He tells the pilot where the plane is going.
Griggs, the SWAC, which has been bouncing around this in
Yes.
standings, actually kind of stayed the same from last week for the first time in a while. Bethune picked up a pair of wins over Jackson and Alcorn State. Here they
Yeah.
are in sole possession now, with especially after Florida A&M lost their game to Jackson
Um,
State.
and how about that win against Jackson State? I know they were at home, but that was an impressive win. Uh,
Look what Jackson State goes out and beats the second place team, Florida A&M,
yeah.
by on the road a couple days later, and they win by almost 40 points. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, and I mean it was one of their nights, and we've seen Cookman this year. I mean, we saw him out of conference have some really good moments. This is a really, really good Cookman team. It's kind of fun to see their rival FAMU kind of keeping pace with them. It's just a good storyline. I just, I haven't. I'll be honest. I don't see, even with SWAC TV, I don't get to see as much of the SWAC as I would like to. So I haven't seen all of their games, but I saw that one, and man, did they look good.
Speaking of games we did not see on SWAC TV, we did not get to see Mississippi Valley State be the first team in the country to reach 20 losses this year.
Yeah,
Well, no,
I
no,
don't
no,
know
no,
why.
not all 12 of these programs have their games on the SWAC TV app yet. There's a couple of them that are still streaming other sources, Texas Southern and Southern being two of those. That's why
Oh,
you could have gone to Southern's website and paid to watch that game if you really wanted to do something like that.
Even though it was
uh,
technically a matinee today that was probably rescheduled because of the
It
weather.
was.
yeah.
It was coming up here this week. We got Bethune is at Alabama State and Alabama A&M.
Yeah,
FAMU
Alabama
making it.
State a little bit disappointing in conference. I thought they looked pretty good out of conference. They've kind of struggled some. They can play to a high level, but I still think Cookman blows through those two games.
That Pine Bluff at Grambling game was supposed to be on for today. It actually, they're still having weather-related problems. That got pushed back for 1 week. That'll be next Wednesday night, by the way.
Yeah. And
And
Mississippi
then
Valley also still having basketball related problems.
They're
Jackson
hosting.
State, meanwhile, will be hosting Grambling and Southern.
Yeah.
Uh, Slika, over in the Summit League, North Dakota State still undefeated in conference. They get the
Wow.
road win at Denver, and they get the road win at Oral Roberts this week.
Yeah, and this was on the heels of beating St. Thomas to take control of the first place for the time being. And St. Thomas actually rebounded with both wins against the South Dakota schools. South Dakota State coming at home and then beating the Coyotes on the road.
Yeah, I don't know when North Dakota State's going to lose until May. I mean, February 18th
Yeah.
at South Dakota State, February 26th at St. Thomas. Those are the only two games that they may that are going to challenge them the rest of the
Well,
way, Griggs.
yeah, I mean, this was a front-loaded schedule for the most part. I think they're kind of running downhill. It might be kind of hard to go, like you said, to South Dakota State, but St. Thomas, if you pull them up and we can look at them next to each other, also having a really good year. And I think that like that loss at North Dakota State. Let's keep in mind that it was on the road and it was a very close game. It was a very exciting game, is what it was. And I think that these two are pretty much equal. I wouldn't be at all surprised if they ended up tied in the standings with a rubber match in the conference tournament. I think these are the two. I think these are the two best teams in the conference, and that they're pretty close to damn equal to each other.
Yeah, they both do have to do the road trips to South Dakota State still, which is a
Yeah,
tough road trip. Um, but upcoming this week in the conference, we've got North Dakota State at South Dakota, St. Thomas hosting North Dakota, hosting Kansas City, and that road trip to South Dakota State on Wednesday.
yeah. So
Um,
all winnable for both of those teams.
Over in the Sun Belt Conference, we just had a few games go final, including a Texas State upset win over Marshall tonight, and Old Dominion won at Arkansas State. But Troy, here they are, eight
Yeah.
and one now. Uh, Getting me a little bit upset that they made the wrong call on the MAC Sun Belt round two matchups. Miami, Ohio getting Marshall, Akron getting Troy. I think those should have been flipped,
Yeah, I agree with you.
but it was based on numbers out of the weekend that they picked it. At that point, Marshall was looking a lot stronger.
Yeah. And Troy Akron is going to be a really good game. I think I think Troy and Miami needed to play each other for each other. It would have been good for both of them. But Troy and Akron is still a really good game. I think it's going to be a pretty close game, Chad. I wouldn't be
Well, that's still
surprised.
2 weeks away, so we'll
Yeah.
talk about that next week.
I
We'll
don't
talk
think
about it next week.
I don't think the Miami fans mind too much because the trip from Oxford to Huntington is only about 2.5 to 3 hours.
Yeah, when we get to
Yeah.
that game, you're going to see a lot of Miami fans there, I believe.
Yeah. But Troy Akron, that's a game that could go into overtime. And
How about that? Another double overtime game for Troy this past
yeah.
week. Wow.
Yeah.
And
Like,
those
like
two schools had more of bad blood in football, but basketball should be a little bit friendlier, but I would
yeah.
expect to see a lot of red in the building when that day
But
comes.
look at this
Look at
Troy profile, though.
look
Double
at it.
overtime San Diego State, overtime Kent State, double overtime Old Dominion, triple overtime loss to USC,
That
double
was
overtime loss to West Georgia. Wow.
Yeah, the game at USC, still one of the most exciting college basketball games of the entire season. And, James Madison, they've been struggling a little bit, but they might battle in this one. We might see an overtime in that game, Chad, this game coming up here.
Yeah, and it's now a two-game lead in the loss column for Troy over Georgia State and South Alabama. So Troy looking really strong. As you
They
mentioned,
are.
hosted James Madison, App State, and then at Georgia State, a big one next Wednesday.
Yeah, they should destroy all those teams, but
Let's look at that Wednesday game. Could be trouble for him.
yeah.
Let's say what's happened to James Madison this year? It's been a while since Preston Spradlin's had a losing record. Might have been his
Yeah.
first or second year at Moorhead.
Yeah, he had Morad going, and they were well, they were. I think they were the first place team last year, and they were about a game and a half ahead of the eighth place team, if you recall. It was a five-way tie or something like that.
Griggs over in the WAC, and in
Oh my
part
God!
because of some adjournments that we had the snow related. Uh, Technically, Texas Arlington is suddenly your first place team.
That's amazing. That's astonishing, honestly. I think the two best teams are Cal Baptist and Utah Valley. But what do you? I mean, they've all played each other, and Arlington's on top somehow.
Well, Arlington did lose one of their conference losses. What was the game at Utah Valley? The other one was a loss to Tarleton,
Yeah,
uh, but they're going to get to play Utah Valley two more times. Don't forget that this is a
yeah, it's a
triple round
triple
robin.
round robin. Yeah,
Meanwhile, Utah Valley, I agree with you. I think they are the best team. If you look at the profile, I think it's a lot stronger overall profile. But they had that loss to Southern Utah, the loss to Abilene Christian.
hmm
Couple of bad conference losses so far.
yeah.
Upcoming this week, let's look at Texas Arlington. They're hosting Southern Utah and California Baptist. Maybe that's the big one here on Saturday.
Yeah.
Utah Valley, meanwhile, is at Tarleton tomorrow night. How about some mythical conferences?
Okay.
We've
And,
got the
and don't
Front
forget,
Range. I'm sorry, what did we forget?
I was just going to say, don't forget the winners of these mythical conferences get mythical bids.
Yes.
Yes.
Bids to mythical tournaments
Yeah,
like the ACA.
right, yes.
uh, Wyoming, 2-0 in conference. They're playing, but it's a non-conference game right now, so even though they're getting pounded by Utah State, it doesn't count in the standings.
There was a minute that I thought Wyoming was a really good team, but it lasted maybe for several days, more than just a minute.
And
Wow,
Sleek likes to point out Denver had a nice AFC West road win over Kansas City this past week.
Yeah, but it seemed
But
like they're both dealing with injury. Oh wait, that's the NFL teams that are dealing with injuries.
huge Front Range game coming up Saturday. The premier rivalry in the
yes.
Front Range, Colorado State at Wyoming. Circle this one. Uh, do not miss it.
Yeah,
Over in the Beehive Conference, we had a lot of action, but it is
we
still
did.
BYU in first place now following their sweep of Utah in the season.
Yeah, and if BYU can hold on to that, they can get into the NCAA tournament if they can hold on to this first
I
place
like their
spot.
chances. I like their
Yes,
chances.
yes, I do too.
No Beehive games coming up this week.
Yeah.
We got
I've also discovered another possible exemption for BYU. If they end up winning the Beehive, they will not have to play any tournament games on Friday or Sunday.
That's true. That's
Mhm.
very
It's
true.
absolutely true. Arizona is still in first place out in the back range. Let's see if we have any games. And they are playing at
Oh
Arizona
yeah,
State on Saturday. Another big game here.
yeah. Our good friend John Titel's nervous about that one. I
And
don't know why.
an upset by Arizona State could put New Mexico State in sole possession of first place.
It could.
They
Yes.
could be
I mean,
number
oh,
one in the
now
nation
that makes sense. Yeah,
and number one in the nation, number two in the back range.
right. I mean, that makes sense. I understand why he's nervous now. Our good
The
friend
top
John Titel.
the top range. The Zags and Boise are currently up there on top. And
Yeah.
what do we got coming
Montana
up this
State with
week?
the most wins, but Zag's up there.
Yeah, no games this week.
Yeah.
How about the most mythical of all conferences?
The Conference of Champions.
Cal with the
Uh,
road win at Stanford, Washington with a win over Oregon, and it is Arizona and Cal tied for first in this conference.
yeah.
Again,
Stanford in a
another reason for Titel to be nervous
yes, very much so.
because there it is. Arizona State is counts as a conference game in three different conferences.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
impressive.
Yeah.
Uh, we've got UCLA Oregon. That game is coming up a little later tonight here, I guess.
hmm
Um, how about some top 10 lists? Under the radar top 10 for January 28th. The three of us all voted. We have a bunch of honorable mentions.
Oh my God. Yeah.
UC Irvine, Troy, South Florida, Illinois State, Winthrop, Utah Valley, Portland State getting an honorable mention.
Okay.
How about
Portland
that for
State
that
out of the
first
big
place seed?
sky. Yeah. I
Undefeated
guess
in conference play.
yeah.
At number 10, we had Hawaii, just barely holding on to the top 10 there.
Yeah, and they got Irvine this week, so that's a big game.
The
Big
winner,
top 10 under the
the
radar.
loser will not be in the top, likely will not be in the top 10 next week.
And
Winner
yeah,
probably will. Tie for eighth between Stephen F. Austin and Murray State, who
yeah, Murray State is
Strong
About to lose it. Yeah,
down eight now, so they are in
at
danger of
home.
losing their top 10 spot.
Yeah,
Although that is to Illinois State, who got some honorable mention love, so that's a team that can move
yeah,
up. At seven is High Point out of the Big South there.
yeah. A really talented team that's underperformed a little bit, but still really good.
Tulsa coming in at number six
Oh, Tulsa. Okay, yeah.
out of the
Okay, I
American,
kind
yeah.
of, yeah, out of the American. I keep forgetting about them.
At number five, it's McNeese. We just talked about them in the Southland.
Hmm.
Even though they're behind Stephen Fawcett, ahead
Even,
of them in our
yeah,
poll. Belmont coming in at number four.
like this Belmont team. They just keep winning.
At number three, it's Akron.
This is a really good Akron team. They can win the MAC.
Could there be a two-bid MAC? And we
Yeah,
had a tie this week for first place uh,
yeah.
between drumroll
Yale and
And
Yale
Liberty.
and another drumroll
Yeah,
maybe Liberty. There we go. Uh, I personally voted Liberty. Griggs, I think you went Yale, so it was
yeah,
close.
yeah.
Uh,
It was.
I think this Liberty team,
They're real
my
good.
in my opinion, I think they're better than Yale. I think they're the best under the radar team out there.
They certainly have a strong case for it. Yeah.
But on that note, let's run to final thoughts. Talika?
I think let's go back to Liberty for a moment. We've talked about Miami cracking the top 25 and having a decent shot at running the table in the MAC. I think their odds are going to be a lot higher than what Liberty is going to be facing in Conference USA. I think the Flames probably have the best shot of any under the radar team running the table in their league. And if we're talking about possible promotion to the Hoops HD report, they're getting one vote in the coaches poll at the moment, but still nothing in the AP poll as far as any under the radar teams from what I'm seeing at the moment.
Yeah, I think it might be like maybe our very last show of the season, like the end of February, if they literally went out to then. And I don't even know if they would quite, I don't know if they have enough to crack the top 25 at this point, but
And
it'll
even
be
then, I don't
interesting.
see what wins in Conference USA would move the needle for them.
Exactly. Greg, do you want to finish out the show?
Um, some of the teams that are chasing the bubble, Belmont, we talked about them. I've been selecting them for my own personal bracket. Our mock committee hasn't been putting them in, and most importantly, the best indicator, well, the two best indicators are John Titel's bracket, who guesses the committee, and Joby's J&G rankings, which rank the likelihood of making the tournament. But I'd like to think that the committee would at least look at them if they win out or lose only one game the rest of the way. I think they're a really good team. Yale should also be in the conversation if they win out, and so should Liberty. So here we are at the tail end of January. Last year, it didn't seem like there were any, minus maybe Drake, but we've got a smattering of under the radar teams that at the end of January might have a shot at the bubble and maybe even getting inside of it. And
I
I really like Akron. I think Akron is as good as Miami of Ohio and maybe a little bit better. And we might see more under the radar teams than what we saw last year on or near the bubble.
I think if we get an at-large bid, it's going to come from one of those two MAC teams, the one that we can't mention, or Akron,
Yeah.
or from Belmont. And it may only be from Belmont, but
So
uh,
Yale running the table, you don't think that would do it?
I don't think Yale get. I think Yale needs to include in that running of the table the Ivy League championship game.
Okay.
And
But
again, I would also remind you that selection committee chairman Keith Gill, who is the Sun Belt Conference commissioner, so this is one of the few chances where under the radar should get some representation, at least at the top of the committee.
there's been a few other under the radar chairmen, Sliko,
Yeah.
and it hasn't really played out great in recent years. But we'll keep our fingers crossed. We'd love to see seven or eight under the radar teams
Yeah.
get at large bids, but it
And
ain't gonna happen.
and we know the committee's why we can do it for you. Like be sure and follow Hoops HD's notebooks and everything else.
On that note, thanks for joining us, everybody.
That's
We
why
will
we
be
do this.
back. We'll be back next month. We'll be back in February with on Sunday night here with our bracket rundown show. Monday, a Hoops HD report. Next Wednesday, another Under the Radar. On behalf of John Salika, David Griggs, I'm Chad Sherwood. Thanks for joining us. Talk to you again real soon.